Hi, thank you for joining me for day 16 of 30 Days of Sketches with Christie's Beautiful Life. And today's sketch has been provided by Debbie Norton Barton. You can see it in the top right hand corner there. And as soon as I saw it, I knew I wanted to use this paper from Boho Sunshine by Simple Stories. I saw that wave of green and blue across the bottom, and it really reminded me of this paper. As I've mentioned in previous videos, I'm trying desperately to finish scrapping our summer holiday from last year before we go on the same summer holiday this year. So I think I've just got this photo and one more to go. This is of us waiting for the boat back to Guernsey from Herm, and my dad realising that he couldn't find our return boat tickets. It's standard with him now. He has all these safe places and never knows which one he's put things in. So I've cut up the paper and I'm removing the colours that I don't think will work with these photos. So at the bottom I'm just sticking with the pale pink, the peachy pink, the yellow and the navy. And then at the top I'm using that turquoisey blue that was in the bit I cut, and then another yellow piece from the rest of the paper. So I've left out the hot pink and the darker green there. So I'm going to have to trim off the edges of the blue, obviously, so that it snugs up next to that yellow, because I've removed the hot pink from that area. I think it was the hot pink or the green, I forget which one now. So I've made a pencil mark on this blue piece, and then I'm just trimming off the edges, and I'm using the lines on my trimmer as a guide so that the edge of the paper runs up against one of those lines so I can see that it's cut straight. So now that I've got those in position, I'm going to run through each piece with my edge distresser. I've moved the paper over to the side to try not to get all of these paper bits all over my layout, which I seem to do every single time. So I'm trying to be better at avoiding getting them on my layout and then having to clean it all off after. So there's the first bit done, and I will just run through all of these, distressing each of the edges. So while I'm going through that, please do check the description box down below to see everybody else joining in on this hop. I'll add Debbie Norton Barton's details there as well, the girl who created the sketch, so that you can check her out. And there's a playlist for everybody joining in, so do go and watch their videos and give them some love if you enjoy them. It's always good to get comments and likes and subscriptions to your videos, so if you like things, please do go ahead and do that. So just finishing off these top bits now, and then I shall glue everything down before I start embellishing. And this layout came together fairly quickly. Once I'd started gluing these bits down and was happy with the positioning, I went ahead and carried on. I haven't used any more photos. Debbie does have a couple more photos showing in the top left hand corner and the mid right side, but I have kept my clusters more or less as she's put them in the sketch, which you will see soon. So just using my Sticks 2 tape runner to get this all adhered down onto the layout. I'm really enjoying using that tape runner at the moment. It makes things so much quicker and easier. I do still love my wet glue, and you'll see me reaching for that plenty, but to get things stuck down without having to deal with backings on double-sided tape, this is a great way of doing that. And it is partially semi-permanent. You can remove things for a little while, but it does stick down solidly if you don't move anything. So there's my photo, and I just want to add some photo mats to that once I've got these other bits adhered at the top. And I will use my pattern papers for that. More often than not, you'll see me adding a white border to my photo just to make it pop a little bit. But in these papers, there are plenty of pale colours that I can use to do that. So again, this yellow piece is too big, so I'm just going to stick it down, and then do I trim it first? Oh, maybe I trim it first and then glue it down after. And I think there's a little bit that I do have to trim off with my scissors, but nothing too serious. So just going around the edges with my tape runner, and there we go. And of course the curve isn't exactly right to match on with that blue, so just leave a small gap and it looks fine. And there I am, just trimming off the extra bits on the edges. So I want to use this yellow polka dot as one of the mats, but I think this pale blue works perfectly as the first mat, just to bridge the difference between the photo and that yellow spotty paper. I just felt like it needed something a little bit more neutral there in between. So using my scissors because I'm too lazy to mess with the trimmer, and I never quite get it accurate when I use the trimmer. I think using scissors I can get a much more accurate cut so that the sides are all equal. So again, just sticking it down with my tape runner, and I'm keeping that torn edge at the bottom of the photo because I like the look of that. Because the rest of the page is wavy and I've distressed the edges, it's nice to have another distressed edge there at the bottom. So now that's sorted, I'm going to bring in some bits and pieces that I've got on my desk. These are the new woven bits and pieces that we've got at Hey Little Magpie. I've brought in a yellow star, and then these 49er market tickets I had to use because they have some tickets that say Guernsey, and because the story is about my dad losing the tickets, I thought it was very appropriate. So I specifically pull out the Guernsey tickets to put at the bottom of this cluster. That bigger one there that you can see with the 28p on it, and then there's another smaller one that I bring in with 10p, and I bring one to the right hand cluster there and also one to the left hand side as well. That pink flower is also from Hey Little Magpie from the bits and pieces. And here are some stamps that I also want to add to that cluster. These 3 rolls all work so nicely together. It seems silly not to bring in the different tones of blue when I can. So I love how that's building up now. But I want to bring in some other bits. First of all, I'm going to work on my title, and it's just Oh Grandpa. And I'm using these Bella Boulevard Florence letters, which I love. This is the blueberry colour. And then coming in with my wet glue to glue all these tickets down before I carry on building up. So just getting everything stuck down. And it's at this point I realise I haven't actually stuck the photo down, so I shall remedy that shortly. I don't tend to stick the embellishments down before the photo. So just making sure I don't move anything too much. And I just love this photo. I put it in the journaling. Amelia's face just says it all, really. We were just despairing of my dad. Ross and James just walked off because they didn't want to get involved. Mum was standing there looking rather stern. But he found them. They were in his wallet, of all places. So just popping that up onto the Sticks 2 foam pads. And then use my T-square ruler to make sure that it's straight and it's not white. So just pulling it up to make sure I get that straight. It's hard with all the wavy lines around the page and the way that I've offset those tickets and things. I just wanted to make sure that it was. So now bringing in one of those that lovely yellow star, the smile canvas flare badge that we've got, and I'm going to bring in some of the printables. First of all, that pink flower, I'm just tucking it in underneath those tickets because I think it looks quite cute there. And then some tangled thread to go underneath my canvas flare badge. And that flare just says smile because we were all trying to. Right, there we go. So just stuck down with some glue there. And then adding that star, sort of balancing over the edge of the flare badge. I love all the different layers that we've got here. And here are those printables that I was talking about. They're the Boho Sunshine ones. And I've just chosen the camera and using my 1-inch punch to punch that out. And the pink with the white heart. So just gluing those down with my wet glue. Can't remember what I did next, just waiting to see now. Oh yes, the journaling. So it's the journaling that's going to go underneath the title, and this is where Debbie's got a cluster and a photo on the right hand side. I thought that would be the nice place to put my journaling. And I just put the hotel agreed to take our cases to Rosaire Steps for us, which was a huge relief. Then we had the stress of Grandpa trying to remember which safe place he'd use for the boat tickets. And then down the side here I've put Amelia's body language at the top, and then Ross and James kept clear. So now I wanted to bring in a little bit more. I felt there was a lot of white space at the top. So I've pulled out my Tim Holtz Starburst or sunburst stencil, and I'm just going to add that all the way around the top left hand corner of the photo. So first of all positioning it across the top and then matching up those rays to bring them down the left hand side as well. And I'm using the faded out method that I tend to use so that the ink is stronger at the beginning and then fades out along the ray. Just wanted to make it a little bit darker at the bottom there and extend those out a bit. And now I'm going to bring in my grey pen to draw some lines, just to add a bit of definition really to the edges of those sun rays. So just adding the lines to the left hand side of each of those sun rays using my T-square ruler. I could have kept the stencil in place, but I just found this easier. And I'm not being too accurate. It doesn't matter if it's just overlapping the sun ray or just outside the sun ray. It looks really good like that. So quickly moving all the way around. And then when I've done it at this top corner, I decide that I want a little bit down at the bottom left as well. I don't bother with the pen on this bottom left corner because I just wanted a hint, and I don't dip my dauber into the colour again. I'm just using what's left on it, and I used fossilised amber for this because that works nicely with these papers. So now having a quick look at the foam stickers to see what I can bring in from here, and straight away I see that title smile, and I think that will work really nicely underneath the photo where Debbie's put her journaling. And then the smiley face goes on the left hand side and this beautiful yellow butterfly at the top. I really like how that finishes it off. So now a sprinkling of sequins, and I'm trying the method of sprinkling and sticking them where they land. I've seen a few people doing that recently, so I thought I'd give it a go. It's not easy for me because I am a bit of a control freak, so I'm still sort of sprinkling where I want them to go. And finally some gold and black splatters. So first of all, using my gold watercolour paint, any gold would work. You've got the lovely gold paints in the Vicky Boutin collections, or the Heidi Swap gold shimmer, and focusing mainly on that diagonal line from top left to bottom right. And then this is my black soot from Tim Holtz Distress Oxide. And that's it. Thank you so much for joining me. I do hope you've enjoyed this video, and I shall see you again tomorrow for day 17. Thank you. Bye.